Hello, Packers fans, wherever you may be. Welcome to another edition of the Pack Attack Cast, brought to you by fans for fans. Just giving you a quick little news blurb. Today, we've got a couple things going on in the NFL and with your Green Bay Packers, so I wanted to give you an update. It has been widely reported that the Green Bay Packers have signed Taylor Elgersma, quarterback, to a contract. This would be a result of a successful tryout that he had with the team last week. He was the only quarterback brought in for the rookie minicamp, and he apparently made a lot of impact with that tryout. He also was a quarterback who came for a pre-draft evaluation as well. So very excited to see where this quarterback is going to end up. Hopefully he's not going to be in the starting lineup anytime soon. But we talked before the draft about the importance of the Packers adding another quarterback to the quarterback room. I thought they would do it via the draft, but they're doing it during UFA period right now with the addition of Elgersma. And what we're looking at here is he's most likely going to be competing to be the developmental quarterback or number 3 quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. Interestingly, he was also drafted by the CFL. So this young man is going to have some options on what he wants to do with his career. If he stays with the Packers, he's likely competing to be that number 3 quarterback behind, obviously, Jordan Love and Malik Willis. But the opportunity is there for him to be potentially a backup quarterback for the Packers in 2026 when Malik Willis moves on, I assume, to another team. So what we're likely to see here is a training camp battle between Taylor and Sean Ryan, who's also on the practice squad for the Packers. And what we're going to look for here is we're going to look for both of these players to compete to be that developmental quarterback. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a look at some footage of Elgersma in the Senior Bowl. So let's take a look at that and see if we can see what the Packers saw in this young man. Because not only did the Packers have him in for a pre-draft visit, and he came in for the rookie minicamp, the Packers also had a sizable presence at the Senior Bowl where they were able to see this young man both in practice and in action, and clearly they were very impressed. So let's take a look at some of this clip from the Senior Bowl and see if we can try to figure out what the Packers coaches are seeing. So let's jump right into that. All right. As they say, let's roll the tape. Nice deep ball. He probably could have led the receiver a little bit better, but it was right on target. You can see that the receiver had to slow down a little bit for the ball. So if he'd led the receiver a little bit more, that would have been a much bigger play. But good touch on the ball. Nice pass right there. Nice pass near the goal line there. That was a well-defended pass, and he fitted in there right where he's supposed to. No, lots of potential there. And this is playing against the top players in college, so. All right, a little escapability there. He turned a tackle into a positive play there. Nice. So just a little bit of footage there from the Senior Bowl. So interesting material there. Hopefully we'll see a lot more in training camp from this young man. But that was a lot of interesting footage there, so we'll have to take a look at his development. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers traded Pickens, their former number 1 receiver. Presumably he was going to be their number 2 receiver, to the Dallas Cowboys. And that's a really interesting development because of a couple things. Number one, the Steelers now really need some wide receiver help. Number two, I don't think they really got value for George Pickens in this trade. So I'm still scratching my head about it. So basically, in my opinion, the Steelers got rid of George Pickens because they didn't like his attitude. They thought he was a bad influence on the team, and they wanted to move on. Plus, he's playing out the last year of his rookie contract, so they figured they would get something for him. Now, how this is interesting for the Packers is now the Steelers are a little thin at the wide receiver position, a position that the Green Bay Packers have a significant amount of bodies in that wide receiver room. In fact, that wide receiver room is actually very crowded. Crowded right now. So, does this open up the door for the Green Bay Packers to trade one of their positions where they have an overload of players, I would say, at wide receiver, to the Steelers, perhaps for a player or for some future draft capital? So this is something I'm going to be watching very closely. So 2 big news items of note for today. The Packers have signed a quarterback that I think will compete to be the developmental quarterback and possibly the backup quarterback for 2026. And do the Steelers need to get another wide receiver on their team? And could that be a potential for Brian Gutekunst to work his magic and get some draft capital for 2026? We're going to watch that very closely, and we'll be back to you soon with another video. Probably in a couple days, I'm going to give you my prediction for the Packers' schedule for 2025. I've roughed it out. I think I have a pretty good feel for where I think some of our impact games are going to be played and when in the NFL schedule. So we'll see if my prediction is close to the prediction or the schedule that we get on the 14th from the NFL. So stay tuned for that video, and we'll see you for the next video. And as always, go Pack Go.